Good evening, everybody. Dead Man Walking 55 coming to you live at 8:03 on the East Coast. Hope you're ready for some baseball talk tonight. This is a stream that's been long coming, overdue. A one-on-one talk and chill out with the great Max Redstone tonight. Before I bring him in, let me just tell everybody thank you so much for being here. Thank you for helping us out. Don't forget, Tuesday night, April Fool's Day, we've got my 700th subscribers celebration at 7 p.m. Eastern until whenever that ends. Before Mrs. and I trail off into the great unknown and camping. Well, I'm trying to get her to keep streaming even out in the woods and the wildlife. But hey, depends on internet connection and motivating her. Doing it old school with no computers and stuff. But anyway, let me go ahead and bring in the guest of honor tonight because he can get started. We nearly got lost in conversation in the background. It's the great Max Redstone.
Just a bit outside, and with me as always is Dadman Walking 55, and he'll have his April 1st celebration with his 666 viewers. Oh, just kidding. And before he goes with his wife, the wonderful Mrs. Dadman, out into the howling wilderness. How are you, Dadman Walking?
I am well. Thank you for asking. It's it's been an interesting week. I'm definitely better than I was yesterday. So that just get tired of all the hiccups at work. But you know what? We got to do work. So when it pays the bills and everything else. So
well, like all the characters in the Flintstones said, it's a living.
Yeah. At least we don't have to break boulders with our feet and drive cars with our feet. That's a good thing about it. So. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's say hello to the people we have here. I know we have some excited people wanting to talk baseball. We're going to focus a lot on Cubs history, about the broadcasting, and then see where it goes into different things. I'm definitely not up on modern baseball. Max has watched a little bit more of modern baseball, so we will see where this goes. And so let's take a look from the top. It's the great Snortapoopas batting leadoff, wearing number 99. Oh, actually... batting leadoff, wearing the number 69, the great Snortapoopas Tuber. He's here till the DL takes him off. But hey, Max is here. He said Snorts at 1 for 3 at night, a hit, RBI, and they believe him all the umpire at his last at bat. Tasty. And in the second position, used to be taken by Ryan Sandberg for the longest time. The great Chicago Cubs second baseman, the great Legatus Legionnaires. All right, it is great. I think was it Keith Moreland or was it Bull Durham that was usually in the third spot? Gary Matthews maybe. One of the three of them, the old '84 team. One of them. It's Keith Moreland. Keith Moreland, sci-fi mommy. Which the irony to that, though, Max.
Yeah.
She's a Cardinals fan. I just put her in a Cubs jersey.
Really?
Yep. Yes. I love it. But she says, woohoo, baseball, and take me out of the crowd.
Hold on. I have something for that right here.
Okay. Snortapoopa said, take me to bed or lose me forever. Oh, wait. That's a different sport. All right. Hail the Phantom Outsider batting cleanup. So great. Bull Phantom Outsider.
Yeah, I'm sharing something right now. Yeah,
there's no rule about mauling an umpire. You heard that, Cole. All right, here's what. Well, hey, Max is sharing just for you.
What can I say? Grok is imperfect, but hey, I told him to say Mark McGwire on fire.
Mark McGwire on fire, and that's what it came up with.
Yeah, well.
And they came with him with the Cardinals, not the A's. Interesting.
Well, I requested Cardinals because that's where he did the most damn. Well, I don't know. You know what? That's an analysis thing. You could say that. Well, I didn't do Jose Canseco. So, but hey.
Oh jeez, Jose Canseco. What a train wreck that guy was.
Yep.
But hey, I don't know. That gets back to some of good old days Speaking of that, let's see. Well, since we mentioned those two guys, how about the great Sammy? Oh, sci-fi thought of this. So let me jump to that again. Since we both are Cubs fans, going back, you kept up with them more lately.
Uh-huh.
Talk about reasons why I've fallen off. But about that same time with McGuire and Bonds and
Sosa.
them, Sammy Sosa. What'd you think with Sammy Sosa? Were you a big fan of his?
Yeah, at the time I was, because I remember that I was a sophomore in college, and I was watching the game where McGuire beat Maris's record, and it was against the Cubs. And there was this moment where him and Sammy Sosa just gave this big hug, and just in hindsight, there's just so much moral turpitude to it because of the steroid era.
Right.
I mean, if you look at, you could point to Jose Canseco in the same way that you could point to Steve Bartman from '93, but it's BS. It's convenient. It was systemic. Like anytime like with the pitch clock and checking the pitcher, the belt and the hat and the glove, if you make it harder to cheat, people are just going to find different ways to cheat.
Yep.
And after that baseball strike, where you actually canceled the World Series, there was a significant loss in interest in baseball. Mm-hmm. And, the long ball brought that interest back. But, you see guys like Mark McGuire. You see him on the A's when he first started. He was like string being thin. You see a guy like Jason Giambi, from the beginning of his career to the end of his career. I mean, the guy's just huge. Mark McGuire at the end of his career had, his neck could be properly described as roast beef.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, it's interesting how you look back how Barry Bonds was very thin at first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all these players, and it's just, normally we get plumpier or bigger as we age, but still.
Yeah, but not that positively.
Yeah. No, definitely not here. Not at all.
So, I mean, it was good in the moment.
Yes. And that's really what the thing was. Those times we don't, we live in the moment, and I think a lot of people had some speculations with stuff, but it was how everybody's having fun. Nobody thinks about the bill racking up.
Yeah.
Like when you host a party and everybody keeps drinking, everybody's having a good time. And then I was like, when you come to settle the bill, it's crazy.
And I bring up Steve Bartman because, nowadays, okay, the guy screwed up, and it was adjacent to a screw up on the field.
Right.
Afterwards,
right.
It's not like he cast a spell and divined it, but you can't. Sometimes you just run into mob mentality. But you know what? In 2016, when the Cubs won the World Series, they made 2016 rings, and Steve Bartman got one of them.
Oh, that's nice. That's good. He made a mistake at that time, but yeah, it was.
And nowadays, the only people who would comment on it are the guys at ESPN who just keep it that generic.
Well, plus also they get ratings and comment. Yeah. It sells, especially controversy and stuff.
I mean, hey, the Cubs have to innovate new ways to screw up. Why ruminate on the old?
I know. Well, Phantom Outsider says there's only one MLB team with 27 more titles. LOL, prove me wrong. Would that be the Yankees or the Dodgers?
Would that be the Yankees?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But Snortopoopas is a Beaver cheerer. Let's hear it for the former Portland Beavers.
Beavers.
And also for my tweet people on Twitch, we will post comments here, so you will be able to see comments from the YouTube side too. So if you're on Twitch, feel free to comment away and join in our discussion.
Dadman, you know what I'm thinking? What? It's time for Beaver Raid.
Oh, Beaver Raid. There you go. Nothing like a Beaver Raid. There you go.
But it's
hey Chewy. Speaking of that, Chewy's over on the Twitch side. Good to see you, Chewy. How are you tonight? And Phantom said, then you see a guy like Aaron Kuber Judge. Look at the guy. Tell me he's not part polar bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Sci-Fi is saying, wait, are you serious? The Cubs won a World Series? No way.
Hey, we got one. That was and that was a perfect season. The 2003 team had some major talent. You had Mark Pryor, you had Kerry Wood, you had Carlos Zambrano.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until Roldis Chapman came around that there was a scarier guy in baseball pitching.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I remember Kerry Wood. I mean, he was like the 20 strikeout in one of his first, was it his first start? It just was amazing with the talent they had for a number of years. And then you have people like Greg Maddux started out as a Cub. I remember when he made I think they brought him up for that Cross City Classic against the White Sox, that exhibition game. Then they sent him back down after that. So.
My gosh, I gotta say, my personal favorite year was 1989. 1989 when
I remember that so well. What made that special to you?
They took the division. I mean, they lost to the Giants, but that was a great team. You had Don Zimmer was coaching. Yep. Oh God, the pitchers you had Greg Maddux.
Mm-hmm.
You had Rick Sutcliffe.
Yep.
Oh man,
wasn't Scott Sanderson still on the team then?
Yeah, they acquired Scott Sanderson. You had Paul Kilgis, Kevin Blankenship, Mike Bilecki, Paul Ossenmacher, and then you had Joe Girardi was catching. So was Damon Berryhill. The infield, though, you had Vance Law, Sean Dunston, Ryan Sandberg, Mark Grace, and then in the outfield you had Andre Dawson. And
Jerome Walton in center.
Jerome Walton and Dwight Smith. Jerome Walton was rookie of the year. He had 30 stolen. Yep. He had 30 consecutive hits.
I remember that.
30 consecutive game hits. And he just I don't know where his career went after that, but it's just we had the best of an Andre Dawson, man. 88. He was in a race. Hey,
Sashi, by the way. Hi, Sashi. Good to see you real quick. But yeah, he was, because the year before they really were a horrible team.
And he got NL MVP. I remember they made a song about him that's like, he's a hero, a celebrated hero. It's just, wow. That was I was at I think it was September 19th, 1989. I was at the game. I remember it because it was 2 years in a row. I went to a game where it was Ryan Sandberg's birthday. And in 1989, it was a night game. And I was all the way up on the first base line, about 50 feet away from Darryl Strawberry. And I was just so fixed on the game. Apparently there were guys shouting like really bad stuff, and I don't remember it. But I was just so fixed on the game. And Mitch Williams.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
Mitch Williams, the wild thing, comes up and hits a 3-run home run.
Yes.
I
tell you, I remember Mitch Williams, first time he played, came over from the Phillies, I think. And he walked the bases loaded in the top of the ninth and struck out the side. Wow.
And you had in the booth Harry Carey and Steve Stone.
Oh, the best combination ever to me.
Yeah.
Those two together. Steve just sitting there and just laughing with Harry, and Harry's just doing whatever he did. I mean, the singing and all just was wonderful. Yeah. The 89 Cubs finished 93 and 69.
Yep.
And that's back when you only had the two divisions, the East and the West. Yeah. And they lost in the championship series, National League Championship Series 4-1 to San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco kicked our ass, and it's. I mean, I'll tell you that. One sad thing about that celebration, Dave Dravecki, The relief pitcher. He was battling cancer. It was in his arm, and apparently the career ending injury happened during that celebration after the Giants beat us.
Yeah, that
What a
was
guy,
Yeah, he had that was a story, and he was a great pitcher, great player for a long time, and to end like that. Yeah, the '89 Cubs. I'm just taking a look back at the stats with them. I mean, like you said, Damon Berryhill hit 290. That was 257.
You had Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah,
Rafael Palmeiro, and they. Yeah, and it's sorry.
Oh my God! I look.
That was in '88 because Palm in '88 at the end of '88, Rafael Palmeiro, Jamie Moyer, and I think it was Drew Hall were sent to the Rangers for Mitch Williams and Curtis Wilkerson. It's like it was a whole huge thing because in '88, Palmeiro was like so close to hitting. Let me pull up his stats. He was like so close to hitting 400. It was like, or 300. I forget what I think it was. He was so close to hitting 300. It's like just one more hit, and it's like the last game of the season he couldn't do. And he couldn't do it.
This was just so great with that team. They were just perfect. I mean, Sandberg hit 30 home runs. I love when Harry Carey always called him Shawan Dunston.
Shawan Dunston. And you know what? In the outfield, I just saw there's a guy. There's a sports writer named Fred Mitchell. He's been doing it forever, and he had a photo on Facebook with Sean Dunston and Fergie Jenkins.
Oh wow!
And in the outfield, they used to have the Shawnometer, which had Sean Dunston's batting average.
Yes, because he started off so bad. So then I remember that. That was a classic on the TV coverage. The Shawnometer. I forgot about that. Oh wow, that's crazy. The things that you remember. And folks, we'll talk more than just Cubs, but we're talking a lot of Cub memories right now. I love the WGN coverage, and that way you could get it every day. I'd go home to my dad's shop and just turn the Cubs on with them because my dad liked the Braves because you had the Braves. But you know what? That year, Sandberg had 30 home runs. Dawson only had 21. It was crazy to see that. And some of the other names, Mitch Webster, Lloyd McClendon. I would always call Lloyds of London. He had 12 home runs for a part-time player.
Yeah. And there's guy, Doug DeCenzo.
Doug DeCenzo,
Doug DeCenzo. I remember, because the next year they were doing, they weren't doing so well. They did like 77 and 85. And, I remember there were times when they would call in like Doug DeCenzo to pitch an inning or two if they weren't doing that good. So,
right. I mean, you look up and down that roster. That was a heck of a bench between Mitch Webster, McClendon, Domingo Ramos. Yeah. They also had Marvell Wynn, who came over from the Padres. Luis Salazar. He batted 325 that year. He played a lot of good games.
They had Goose Gossage, but it wasn't the good Goose Gossage. It was like right at the end of his career, which was a shame because that guy, I've seen interviews with the guy and he's just the nicest damn guy.
Yeah, I'm looking also at like the pitching staff of Greg Maddux, Sutcliffe, Bilecki, Sanderson, Kilgus, Steve Wilson, Jeff Pico. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Les Lancaster was an unheard of guy. Calvin Schiraldi from the Dead Sox. Of course, then like you mentioned, Williams, Osamacher. Some great. I mean, that was really a great roster that had a special year.
Yeah, it was great. I remember one game Dwight Smith sung the national anthem.
Yep, I remember that. I remember that too. One of the problems that I saw, like with Jerome Walton, he was a flash in the pan. So was Dwight Smith. They didn't last long, but Jerome Walton the next year had the sophomore slump. And one of the biggest things they did, because he had that really funky, wide open batting stance.
Yeah.
Which major league pitchers can adjust to that and hit for weaknesses and stuff, because it has its own disadvantages doing that. But when they really changed his batting stance to try to address when he was struggling, he really went off the tank. Off the plate. He just really was never the same player after that year.
Yeah.
ethically adjusted to them.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I wish I knew a little bit more about coaching, but it was, it was a real shame that his career wasn't consistent. Cause like I said, he's rookie of the year. He hit 30, he hit 30 games in a row. Everyone's thinking, oh, is he gonna catch up with Joe DiMaggio?
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. Yeah. It was such a special time to be a Cub fan.
Yeah.
I tell you. And back then, though, the thing was you could get, as long as you could pay for cable, you had access to it.
Yeah. And we were talking about this for a very long time. And you
also had TBS for the Braves also.
Yeah.
So
well, the Cubs in general, it was part of a monolith. Like you had the Chicago Tribune, the newspaper, you had WGN, the radio station, you had WGN, the local TV station, which then became the Superstation cable, and they also owned the Cubs, so it was an all-in-one package. But what happened was it really didn't adjust well to the internet and the information age. So the internet cut into the internet cut into the paper circulation and also into the television a bit. And then they started scrambling for cash. And I remember being part of the journalism scene in around like 2005, 2006, 2007. The whole ethos corporate was do more with less, do more with less, do more with less. And that's even now. It's the Chicago Sun-Times the other day offloaded about 40% of its staff. They took buyouts.
Wow. Yeah. That's something.
So I mean, and this was, but so that, that was, so, I mean, and eventually what happened is the team was sold. The Tribune company was sold to a local businessman named Sam Zell. And he had ownership interest in like the Bulls, and he was into real estate. And he basically just kept on the course of he took the company into bankruptcy and tried to spin off everything, and basically spun off everything.
Right.
So, and which brought the Cubs into the ownership of the Ricketts family.
Which then it seemed like they were willing to spend a little bit more money, and then you get the 2016. And
2016 was a very special year. You had Joe Madden, you had Theo Epstein as president. I mean, for the longest time, Jim Fry was general manager, and in 2016, Jed Hoyer was. And
Jim Fry, though, remember Jim Fry was also the manager in the '84 Cubs that made it into the NLCS.
I remember I went to a Cubs convention, and it's like, hey, Jim, can I get a picture? And I had a really big camera. It's like I had like the top Canon one with a flash. I'm like, hey, look at the camera. It's like, oh wow, this is a big camera. So, but I remember one of the interviews that Joe Madden gave. It's like he put out all the baseballs representing all the possible games, for 162 for the season, the division, the playoffs, the World Series, and it's like that is what we have to win.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And what I think what is on top of that is the saga of what had to be done to Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field it's old. It is what it is a baseball. It's a baseball field that's been renovated twice over. It's basically been split and resectioned. And one of the accounts that I heard was during a Jimmy Buffett concert, people were swaying in unison so much that the bleachers in the upper tier was moving, and it was so bad that when they got down to the support posts, they weren't touching bedrock. So essentially, there's a 1 hour special somewhere on YouTube.
Wow.
And it outlines what they had to do, how they had to finance it, what could they move out, what could they move in, what changes were they willing to make, because the saga of the Cubs being this is a neighborhood ballpark, Dad Man.
Mm-hmm. Right. You know? Oh yeah. I mean, the apartment buildings across the street it's famous for. Yeah. People watching on the rooftops and all.
You know, and what they did is there was a McDonald's across the street. They purchased that. They kind of made a little mini complex on outside, and they essentially what Tom Ricketts said was that if they had played the 2016 season somewhere other than Wrigley Field, they could have saved $100 million.
Wow.
But it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Cubs to win, their championship in Wrigley Field, definitely. Snore Poopas, by the way, said he'd be more supportive of the Cubs if they were actually Bears. Yeah.
I saw that.
And if y'all don't follow Cubs, and hi, Sashi. Sorry, we were getting going. I just want to make sure I said hi. But anybody that wants to talk non-Cubs, feel free to throw some stuff in too. We're just kind of focused on Cubs because that's a little bit of our time, our passion and history. Chewy said, I really don't watch too much baseball, but dang, ESPN could have the Astros and Mets to start Soto's debut as a Met. Astros on the road and keep the second game with Tigers Dodgers. What could have been?
You know, I watched the highlights of the two games of the Dodgers Cubs in the Tokyo Dome.
I still can't get used to starting the friggin' opening day. It's opening day is supposed to be started first pitch in Cincinnati at Riverfront Stadium, but
you know, it's tough. They dumped both games to the Dodgers, and I mean, it wasn't like an epic meltdown. It's like they took both of them in the fifth. But they kept Shohei Ohtani down for like one game. He didn't hit a home run until the second game.
See, and that's what gets me. Why the heck? Well, of course, they've already screwed the tradition up by having inbreeding play, as I call it.
Yeah.
With the major leagues and with the National League and the American League now, really, there's no. I mean, they might as well just not even have leagues anymore because they've effectively dismantled them.
Yeah, I can understand why they. I can kind of understand why they had the DL during COVID, but why did they have to keep it? I mean, that was something that was distinctive between the National and American League,
right?
So.
But Chewy said Dodgers Cubs in the Tokyo Dome was kind of interesting. The first matchup was good because the two starting pitchers were Japanese descent, but the Dodgers won because of good and timely hitting.
Yeah.
So
no, the Dodgers are a definite powerhouse.
Yeah, because I just still don't. That's one of the biggest problems I have with modern Major League Baseball is all the changes to get rid of the history. You don't have the leagues anymore. One had DH, one didn't have the DH. They were distinctive. The umpires dressed differently. You had to I like that. Also, now you got them playing within the season all the time, but it was like you had to get the Subway Series, it had to be in the World Series. And now seeing the fields, because you're a finance guy. You're a finance guy. One of the biggest things that bugs me are all the advertisements in the stadiums, especially at a historic site like Wrigley Field.
Well, and that was part.
Stunning.
That was part of the. That was part of the whole saga with having to renovate Wrigley Field because they needed to finance it. And they have the second scoreboard, and the compromise there was that they would not put any game scores. It would strictly be player stats. And I have not been to Wrigley Field since the renovation, but all the pictures and video that I have seen is, they did a really good job in being minimalist in changing it. I mean, and they have put a lot of new accommodations, like new bars and new clubs, because but what a major thing that they did is they moved a lot of, like, the machine shop, the electric shop, they moved a lot of that off field.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that's where they put a lot of new hospitality stuff.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Hyperbolic Ninja. Good to see you tonight.
Hyperbolic.
Good to see you too. Nice name out there. But see, I remember the electronic Budweiser sign. I just because I worked at a minor league ballpark in '89, and Major League Parks had nothing, no advertisements really in it like that, and it was kind of like considered minor league because that's how the minor leagues made their money. That's how they survived.
I agree, and I'm a sentimentalist because I remember there was Bud, there was a company called Torco that had an advertisement in the, and it's because I am a sentimentalist, but as Mike Ditka said, living in the past is for cowards. You live in the past, you die in the past. Torco, Torco, is a local company. I don't even know what they did, but it's like you saw their sign. It's but the money thing, the money thing is it's a reality because, like, number one, we've seen this year in between seasons, we saw Bally Networks fall apart, and baseball is a very regional sport. You do have teams with national recognition, but by and large, baseball is a regional thing. And with the trouble with Bally's, you now have teams that don't have an affiliated network that's giving them money for the air rights. And what Major League Baseball is doing is they're coming in. They basically want to do an all-in-one streaming package.
It's streaming.
That's their goal.
Yeah, I know. I like we talked about earlier, the good old super stations. Those were the days, and you could just see it. It allowed me to follow the Cubs, the team I wanted to, all the time. Yeah, or even the Braves down here. A lot of people were the Braves,
Cubs, the Braves, the Mets, but that was only for certain teams. And something, another possibility that I was listening to another show. I was listening to Brody Brazil. He was talking about not having a salary cap so much because there's the luxury tax in baseball, and like with Shohei Ohtani and all the Dodgers, a lot of those players are taking are deferring part of their salary so that they won't, that in the Dodgers case, they won't get so much nicked with the luxury tax, because that thing is gradual and it builds. But like the Mets, they just don't give a AF because Stephen Cohn, he's got like 21. I think he's the richest owner in all professional sports. He's got $21 billion.
Wow. Well, talking about owners, that Buddy Hepburn's here tonight. Know that he's not an owner, but he was and his dad were long-suffering A's fans.
Yeah.
Which now are playing in Sacramento in a minor league park for 2 years. But I mean, a team that moved in without a stadium deal in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean that was for a while that was considered a lock, but now it's maybe, but now it's not. So they're going to be in Sacramento, and we'll see. It's liquid. It's dynamic because you have, for example, it not off subject. The Sphere, and everyone thought it was like, oh, it's going to be this humongous, revolutionary venue, but the thing's hemorrhaging money. The thing is hemorrhaging money, and it's not bringing in. They're close to bankruptcy, and it's you never know. You really never know what's going to happen. But it's oh, look who just walked in.
Wes Cagle. Hey, Wes Cagle. Probably Mr. Phillies, I think, probably. Hey, West.
Gosh, speaking of Phillies, I was watching an interview with John Kruk, and he was talking about, I think it was the 1990 Phillies. Like, John, maybe it's a little unfair, but without steroids, does that team even have? It's like, oh no, it's not. It's not unfair. It's like without steroids and amphetamines, we don't even get past the halfway point. God, I love John Kruk.
I know. He was very honest, and not rude, crude, or anything. He just told it like it is. And
unlike Lenny Dykstra.
Oh yeah.
I mean that guy.
Yeah.
That is a guy who learned immediately. It's like, oh, I can cheat and win. And that's just sort of like his work. That was sort of his ethos through his professional career on and off the field.
Yeah. Well, Buddy mentioned talking about broadcasting is that Major League Baseball is buying up all the broadcasting rights to merge into one system.
Yeah.
The only problem is some teams own the distribution, like the Dodgers. I would imagine the Yankees or the Mets probably do too.
Yeah,
as large as their markets are.
These large market popular teams, they have they have pretty substantial deals. Like we'll compare two teams. Well, for example, the Twins right now are up for sale. I think it's the Thabad. I forgot what the family name is. They've owned it forever, for like 40 years, and now the fourth generation wants to sell it. They want to sell it for $1.7 billion, but they have $425 million in debt, and they don't have a firm TV deal ever since Bally's fell apart. But then you have the Orioles, who recently sold for a similar price, but their TV deal is bringing in like $60 or $70 million.
Yeah, disparity. Hyperbolic Ninja said, I worked on this Sphere. It was $2 billion over budget because of the lockdowns and not being able to get materials. It's making money, but going to take over 15 years to break even because of the fact it was so far over budget.
And, with the interest rates being what they are, it's it's a halcyon time to be borrowing money.
Now, help me understand for people don't understand. What is the Sphere? Where was that built at?
That was built in Vegas. So
it is the new. It
is literally a sphere, and inside and out, the surface is all LED. It's all a screen. And it can project.
So we're not even talking baseball then.
No, I'm just talking a venue, but it's a corollary subject because, if I guess I should say, if the Sphere went gangbusters, then I think the A's would be more of a lock in Vegas because their venue where they're looking to go, because they already demolished the Tropicana.
Yeah, I remember the one hotel I stayed at when I was out there years ago.
The proposed budget is about $1.75 billion. So you have to think practically. It's like we already did this $3 billion thing, and we're going to do this on the Strip. But however, Vegas really wants more sports teams. I think there's a competition between the A's baseball and I think it's the San Antonio Spurs, because the San Antonio Spurs are owned by the widow of late casino magnate Sheldon Adelson, Miriam Adelson. Okay. And, they did this horrible trade with the Lakers recently. And the rumor is they did that at the behest of people in basketball so that they could get approval later on to bring this, I'm sorry, I think it was the Mavericks, to bring the Mavericks to Las Vegas because they have a football team, they have a hockey team, and I think they really want the quad, the baseball, basketball,
Right.
football, and hockey.
Yeah, that makes sense. And hello, Fallout Dave. Good to see you tonight.
Dave.
How are you doing there? And Buddy is, because there's no way to stop these owners. They want all the money. They don't want to put it out of their pocket.
Yeah.
Like here, one of the worst owners in terms of just being cheap, really stiffed the city of Oakland, ran a dump, and then now actually started the process of moving to Vegas without any taxpayer financing guaranteed in Las Vegas. It was it's backwards. And my buddy's point is he still will not pay a pocket out of his pocket unless he has to.
And something I started and stopped a second ago, like the concept of not a salary cap, but a salary floor, something to get, something to give the owners an incentive to not just pocket the money from tax incentives and broadcast rights.
And hello, Dave C. Welcome. Yeah, because they got to spend it. It's like Buddy was saying there. They spent over half over the offseason. They are in danger of being fined for the league for not spending to the minimum required limit. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Yeah, all those years with the Cubs, you would think they have all this money, and they spent like the Pittsburgh Pirates, content with losing, just trying to make a profit, which, there's nothing bad from a business to do it. But they didn't, it suffered at the competitive balance, they didn't care about winning.
For years and years, the Cubs were part of that Tribune. They were part of the Tribune conglomerate. So, they were the wholly owned subsidiary.
Yeah. And so, see, that's the thing is I think when Major League Baseball, any of the leagues are in on it, there's nothing you do to stop it. Because, I will say at least in Jacksonville with the Jaguars, there was a recent approval for a $1 billion stadium, but it was also to include surrounding hotel, shopping. Of course, they keep insisting on nightlife in downtown Jacksonville, and I don't care how much you spend, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
but they want to draw worlds, Super Bowl again and all the other stuff. But it's like still nobody will revitalize. The whole point is to revitalize downtown. It will not work if you know the city. People stay in the suburbs. They don't go downtown except for monster trucks and football games. But at least in this case, I will say Shah Khan, who's known as a pretty cheap owner on the football field, and the team is always losing, actually is supposed to put up half the money. About $500 million from the state and city, and $500 million from him, which is at least I think getting something, more than most of these owners put into these projects.
And facility ownership and facility issues are a big deal because, for example, to go back to the Twins, they don't own Target Field. The Diamondbacks, they don't own Chase Field, and it's like these teams the teams can press on contracts all they want, but at the end of the day, you have a city like Nashville who's putting in $1 billion for the new Tennessee Titans complex.
Right. That's about they're in the same division as the Jaguars, so that's about right in terms of money.
And essentially, I think it was the mayor said, are you looking to get like another type of? Are you looking to get a baseball or basketball team? No, we're set. We're not spending any more money.
Right. They got football and hockey.
And the I think I forget whether it was proposed or passed in Illinois. There was the hold on, I gotta look this up it's called the Snorty. You're gonna love this. It's called the Bears Act. Illinois.
The Bears Act.
Okay. Illinois lawmaker proposes Bears Act. It's called, what is it? The Balanced Earnings and Record Standards Act.
What?
Basically, what it is that Illinois will not give public financing unless a team has achieved a 500 or better record in 3 out of 5 previous seasons.
Well, I don't think that's unreasonable. That's a pretty
No.
good thing. I mean, even the IRS has that with the distinction between a hobby and a business. You got to make a profit at least once every 3 years, otherwise you're a
Yeah.
hobby, and the rules
Yeah. I mean,
change.
and to shift over to the Bears, they have Soldier Field, which is a landmark, and it has been renovated to the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do it's like I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like I used to drive by it all the time. You would have the distinctive architectural feature are these Roman colonnades on either side. And what they did is they put like, I hate to describe it, they put kind of a toilet bowl on top and on the inside. But Soldier Field, I think the lease is until 2028, 2029. But that facility really has been upgraded to the maximum. And the Bears are looking to go out to the suburbs, to Arlington Heights.
Right.
There used to be Arlington Racecourse, and so that's like 45, 50 minutes out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
But there they can build their own stadium. And then to shift back to baseball, there is the White Sox. The White Sox want a new stadium.
Right.
They're
Absolutely.
guaranteed U.S. Cellular, Comiskey, whatever. It's not a great stadium. It really isn't. It was not well built. But there's it's called Lot 78. Like in Chicago, they name these lots, but that's where they want it. It's close into the city, but it's going to cost $1 billion.
Wow.
And I remember last year here in San Diego, I went to a Cubs game and I went to a Sox game. And when the Sox were in town, it was like a minor league team playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are people going to pay major league price for something that's a minor league product?
And the Bears are asking for like $1 to $2 billion in public financing, and really, it's a problem in Illinois because you have states that have bigger debt, but per capita, Illinois is really one of the most financially stressed states in terms of unfunded pension liabilities and things like that.
Yes. That's a fact, because we've actually went up some of our trainings that's come up about their state with the pension liabilities.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, God,
yeah.
It all goes. Speaking as a Chicagoan for 30 years,
Yeah.
I lived there until 2009, and everything was fine. There was always a layer of patronage and corruption. It was always on top of everything, but things got done. The problem is when the problems really came out when you had the Great Recession, and that pie shrank, and the people who took from the pie tried to keep taking from the pie, and it's just not working.
No, absolutely not.
You have these crazy mayors in Chicago.
Fallout Dave thinks the governor ate all the money. Normally I don't go political, but yeah. It'd be like Chris Crispy.
A fun fact about JB. I mean, that is a $1 billion family. And he took toilets out of his house to try and get a write down on his property taxes.
Wow.
To say that he had less bedrooms.
Jeez. Well, hey, if you do what you got to do, I guess. But Chewy actually asked earlier, if I wanted to have baseball, I would rather push the season back the week when they can go head to head with the Masters.
Yeah.
How would that be? The Masters is a very famous golf tournament. So.
Yeah. Well, it's that could be interesting. I mean, it's different. Baseball and golf are different crowds. I just I've sometimes photographed golf, not one or two times, so I find that interesting. But I find it I hate to sound like a dork. I mean, I find it conceptually interesting, but other than that, it's just rolling grass.
Rolling. Yeah, I got you with the golf. Yeah, I know. I got you. It doesn't mix like you said. We once in college we were cheering the baseball team on. We turned around because the tennis people were right behind us, and we were getting into it. But the coach came over and kind of like, "Hey, we appreciate the enthusiasm, but y'all need to keep it down." And we're like, okay, we finally did golf claps after that. Then we got back to baseball because we weren't going to sit there. Actually, the truth be told, we were actually harassing our own school's player because he was acting like a jerk, getting frustrated.
Let me show you something classic about baseball. I'm going to put this up.
By the way, I think I missed a chat earlier about movies. I'm going to get back. Let me start this one again. I do want to hit this one in a bit. So, but yeah, go ahead. Let me see. Are you ready for me to?
Yep. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. This gentleman, may rest in peace. This is a guy named Joe DeGangi, and he was a bullpen catcher for the New York Yankees, and I think he was in the Bronx. He lived in the Bronx, and he went to the Yankees front office. He's like, "Hey, what do I got to do? What do I got to do to get on the team? I don't care what." He's like, "Yeah, just show up at spring training." The guy packed his suit up, went down in Florida, showed up at spring training, sight unseen. And he was a bullpen catcher. And a guy, I don't have the picture, but this guy, his hands, his fingers were crooked because he spent hours and hours and days catching for Lou Gehrig, and like there'd be times when Lou Gehrig would cock back a little bit too much and hit his hand, and this guy made a life of building prefabricated homes afterwards. But this guy is classic baseball.
Well, you know who else is classic? This guy right here, Gen X, saying "Go Braves, fight me," Jen. Good to see you, Jen. Yeah,
I got my hair cut today, and in the there's all these, there's stuff about military and Navy SEALs, but there's a little small picture right on the back wall of Joe DeGangi and Joe DiMaggio.
Nice.
This is this guy was classic baseball Americana.
Oh yeah, definitely different time. Different era. I like the old stories, and I like hearing about those. Looking at the old pictures, it's looking at some of the old footage. I mean, there used to be, TV shows on home runs, like Home Run Derby. Old black and white. You had Hank Aaron. You had Eddie Matthews. You had all these different players, and they're just out there now.
I love watching Earl Weaver fighting with the umps.
Oh yes.
I mean, you guys, the only reason you guys are out here to F us, Earl, get out of here. The only reason you guys, it's just class. This is, that's classic baseball. Sparky Anderson.
Hell, Don Zimmer. I love when the Zim got pissed off. Even when he went to the Yankees and that one, freaking guy from Martinez from the Deadcocks, Red Sox. With my friend and I named all kinds of people and names and teams, but it's like he was going after Martinez and
I mean, I'll get back to Martinez in a sec, but
let's say good night, Snortopoulos.
Good night, Snortopoulos. Lou Piniella. When Lou Piniella was like, I remember his first fight. It's like, oh, here he comes. He's gonna get his first one, and it's like he instantly ejected. And the funny thing is, Angel Martinez, stat for stat, was not the worst ump. He was actually pretty good. He was just kind of a jerk. And I forget what the name is of the guy who got fired mid-season. Let's see. I can
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I remember Angel Martinez. It seemed like he was around forever.
Yeah. Well, they got a union. So there was a guy. There was a guy, an MLB umpire. His name is Pat Hoberg, and it's not like he was corrupt. It's not like he was, like a Donaghy in basketball. But what happened was he basically had an app on his phone for a sports book. And there's no evidence. The MLB didn't have any evidence that he manipulated anything. But
have a good night, Hyperbolic Ninja. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Good to see you tonight. Yes. Sayonara. Yes.
But it's like, and that's another thing. That's another thing. The insipid indoctrination of betting into sports. I just it's this is something like with Pete Rose, for all the way back from the Black Sox and Kennesaw Mountain Landis, gambling and sports do not mix. And now, with the need to finance and the need for money, there it is. I mean, I will admit, I dipped in a little. I tried to get a draft to place a bet on the Mike Tyson Logan Paul fight, but can't do it in California. So,
wow. But I don't know the way that fight turned out. You're probably better off.
Oh God, talk about. I mean, have you ever seen a movie called The Great White Hype?
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah,
but
so
there he is.
Okay, you're saying good night to Snorter Poops. Okay, just making sure. Glad to have you here with us, folks. And like I said, throw in what y'all want to. Even other teams. See, even Jen came in.
One punch, Terry Cochran.
Yes,
I am at least grateful that no one has tried to change Major League from the Indians to the Guardians.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just long postulating there, but it's like, you know how like people go back and change stuff.
Yeah. Well,
so
sorry, Mrs. sent me an important message, so I'm good. But hey, she just sent me something.
That would be the remake.
By the way, you'd mentioned some umpires,
Yeah.
I love Cowboy Joe West, and they could go, you can't throw an umpire out of the game. All right, you're out of here.
Dave Pallone, and it's
Eric Gregg. Remember Eric Gregg?
Yeah.
I loved Eric Gregg.
Eric
Gregg and Cowboy Joe West.
Joe West. And now we are on the cusp of having ABS, where it's automatically called.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know how I feel about that. It's on one hand you have machine accuracy on something where machine accuracy is kind of properly applied, but you really are destroying a fundamental part of the game.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is really going to all the sports, and like you said, the give me 1 second.
So yeah, I mean the time limits, like the 20 seconds for the pitch, the 2 minutes for the switch over. I mean those are pretty reasonable. And they've had positive effects on the game.
What about the runners starting on second base in extra innings?
Yeah, because these are things that because another thing that MLB has done, as a conglomerate, they took over the minor leagues. The minor leagues used to have independence, but no longer. And what they do is they test out these new things.
Yep.
These new concepts so that's like their lab. And
Jeez,
if they work, if it's either if they work or if they don't screw up, they apply them. So yeah, I don't think I don't like the the runner on second base. Again, during the quarantine era, yes, but I think it should have been stopped then and there after.
You know, and also back to your point about the gambling, we kind of moved on from that. But yeah, I tell you what, I think gambling is is an irritation on all sports now. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, it's going to get chippy. It's going to mess things up. I mean, because one like the other day, Florida beats UConn. Guy hits a meaningless 3-pointer for UConn. Normally they just run the clock out because they were losing. It wouldn't matter, but he ran down the shot and made it. But it took from whoever was on the under of the 150.5 to from winning at the buzzer to losing, and whoever had the over wins because somebody took a meaningless shot that they don't normally take. You got these teams moving and locating in the gambling capital of the world. We got this gambling shifting to all these other states for online betting, and of course, the warnings about gambling addiction and stuff are read like the disclaimers and side effects on drug commercials. By small print and like 900 miles an hour. That
I always make the joke. It's like, I don't drink anymore, but because I when I drink now, if I drink now, I turn into an a-hole. I want to reserve the ability to. I want that to be part of my toolbox. Like I want to be able to use that as a skill. I don't want that to be involuntary. But it's if and every ad for every beverage, beer, wine, liquor, it's always the same thing. It's always the same product. They want you to drink responsibly. And it's like the irony is the beverage industry makes 2/3 of their tech, and don't quote me on this, but generally they make about 2/3 of their revenue from 1/3 of their consumers who are heavy / binge users of their product.
Yeah,
and it's the gambling. I mean, I can remember when I was working on the trading floor, and the trading went from the pit to the screen, and there are a lot of caveats and a lot of pitfalls, going into the abyss. And, I've heard horror stories.
Oh yeah.
And that's why for so long, gambling and sports, professional or even college sports have been mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. And it was. There's a reason why Kennesaw Mountain Atlantis did what he did. And that there was always the push to keep it out. I mean, look what happened with Bartlett Giamatti and Pete Rose. I mean, hell, even the stories about Kennesaw Mountain Atlantis actually still banning players that did not. I mean, they took the kickbacks, but they played great during the World Series.
Yeah, there's an argument for Shoeless Joe to like that he didn't the players, but it was such a stain on the game that cutting such a wide swath in punishment was for him justified.
Yeah, and like Pete Rose never admitting to what everybody knew and what the documentation was saying,
and to bring it back to my own personal experience, I remember there was a trader on the floor. This is before my time, but there was a point shaming scandal with a college player, and one of the guys who was funding it was a trader on the floor. And what busted it was that he had a guy in Vegas who was placing the bets, and someone got into him. And they started moving the line, and basically they noticed it's like, the line on this game is moving 40 or 50 times.
Oh, wow.
And of course in basketball, in professional basketball, there was the story of Tim Donaghy, the ref.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And these are, of course, like you said, these are things that happen when you bring these two forces into proximity with each other.
Yeah, and there were reasons why they were kept separate and kept
Yeah.
apart. That's why you didn't see teams being moved to Vegas, or even really that was
Yeah.
that really was the capital of gambling in all the world. But then it started changing when we started legalizing it, and we started having it all around the country. I mean, every state varies still to some degree. Hell, in some states, I think it's county by county now.
Yeah, well, with the information age, the proximity is almost pointless. But like I said before, Vegas's agenda is to have the big four. They want, ideally, baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. They got football, they got hockey, and now they're analyzing, what do I want? What do we want more? Do we want, if we have to choose, do we want basketball or do we want baseball? Because it's not a dilemma, but it's a serious choice.
Mm-hmm.
And even like you have, you and I, you were suggesting that I look into the NCAA NIL, and you have all that money now with not to get off of baseball too far, but
right,
you have
that would be a whole stream by itself.
Just to dip into that, you have a team like BYU, and the Mormon Church behind BYU has untold billions of dollars, because everyone tithes 10%, and you know where that goes? Into their hedge funds.
Mm-hmm.
It's
and folks, hedge funds are they're investment vehicles, but they're usually high risk, high reward.
Well,
I
say hedge funds. That's the interchange, but it goes into their investments. It goes into their investment vehicles, basically.
Yeah.
And they put out $900 million to get the Coyotes from Arizona, and they're willing to put up another $900 million to get a baseball team. So they're shopping. They're shopping for the Diamondbacks. Yeah. They got the money.
Yeah, but they couldn't name the daggum Utah hockey team other than Utah Hockey Club because of a trademark dispute. But let's have some fun a little bit. Folks in the chat. Hyperbolic Ninja came through earlier. He's still here, but he said they need to bring back baseball movies like Major League.
Yeah. There's
Do you have a favorite?
No, Major League is the goal for me, is the gold standard baseball movie. I mean, you had Charlie Sheen and Tom Berenger and Wesley Snipes. You had Corbin Burnson with a full head of hair. Look, hey, I deal with male pattern baldness myself, so I'm not faulting the man. But if you look at L.A. Law, Corbin Burnson, to afterward Corbin Burnson, it's two different people. But we had Corbin Burnson in his prime.
Oh yeah. That I tell you that those were good. We also had JoJo. Oh gosh, what was his name? The Allstate Insurance commercial guy, President 24.
Dennis Haysbert.
Dennis Haysbert, who also got his start earlier in the 70s on Buck Rogers in season 2, the season that everybody likes to forget existed. Just the names. And
it'd be very bad to drink Jobo's rum. Very bad.
Yes. What a chicken. And he's Tim Berenger brings in a whole bucket of KFC.
And of course, Bob Uecker. I mean, it's just the late great Bob Uecker. Just one. I mean, if there was an indomitable personality to bring that whole production together.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Just a bit outside. Try the corner. Ball 4, ball 8.
Listen to that crowd, Marty.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
The post game is brought to screw it.
Yeah. So you guys out in the chat, what are some of your favorite baseball movies? I mean that, like you said, is gold standard. I didn't. The second one obviously was the obvious one set up to fail, where
Yeah,
the
it was
sequel
all
could not.
downhill afterward. I mean,
But of course, you didn't have Wesley Snipes playing.
yeah, Omar Epps.
William H. Hayes.
Omar Epps is a fine actor.
Yeah.
But it was not. It's one of those roles where it transcends the character.
Yeah.
It transcends everything, and you need the character.
Oh, you need the actor for the character.
Yeah, Buddy Hepburn. I'm with Buddy Hepburn. Mr. Baseball was good.
Yeah.
I remember the part. It's like, oh yeah, I heard you Japanese have this thing where you can get drunk and yell at your boss and not get in trouble. And Boulder, now here here's the thing. I like Bull Durham. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. It's got too much Susan Sarandon in it.
I was about to say that. I've never seen it, but that when I saw she was in it, even those many years ago, I'm like, I'm not watching this.
And I can handle femininity. A League of Their Own, great movie, because you live the struggles of these women, not only being women, but also being wives and girlfriends in the time of war. And gosh, I mean, even Rosie O'Donnell was good in it, dude. That's how good that movie was. But it's just Bull Durham. Yeah, Bull Durham just had a little bit too much Susan Sarandon.
Yeah. I did like League of Their Own. I mean, that one kind of got League of Their Own kind of got to me. It was more for the World War II time period, I thought. And that's why I really liked it. It was it was not a bad movie either. I thought it was a good movie. It told the story about the women back then that were made up that league and why they did what they did. It was, riding a bus everywhere, scratched up, banged up. And it was really, really, I thought a good movie. I was surprised I actually liked it, but it's not very rewatchable, but Field of Dreams. Yeah. I love James Earl Jones's monologues, like, people will come, Ray. Oh yes, people will come. They'll come to Iowa for reasons they can hardly fathom. It's just I will watch the entire movie just for that part. That's just when you have those iconic scenes like that. Yeah.
Like, Moonlight Grab. You did see it.
Fear Strikes Out. Did you ever see that one?
No.
God. Right. Sorry, buddy. We haven't seen that one.
Talking about movies that can never be made. The original Bad News Bears.
Oh, yeah. They tried with Billy Bob Thornton, but it wasn't the same.
I'm sorry, but the amount of biased racism that was built into that comedy, you can never do. That's like the Blazing Saddles of baseball.
Yeah. Beyond just the kids drinking beer.
Yeah.
It was that was an old. That's another oldie goodie.
We got to deal with blanks and blanks and blanks, and now women too.
Yeah. That was a good movie. Like you said, a lot of depending on when they came out, you can't make.
The Sandlot was just that's another classic.
I know a lot of people see very highlight. That had some famous actors in it, didn't it? The people that went on to be famous.
A couple. Yeah.
So now there's a musical, but he said, "Take Me Out of the Ball Game" with Frank Sinatra or Gene Kelly is good.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I once saw a musical. It was a play called "Take Me Out," and it's about a guy. It's like about a guy in the Yankees. It's like Aaron Judge. Imagine like Aaron Judge, but he comes out as gay. And that's what the play is about. But it was a good play.
Yeah. Hey, Brogu. Welcome.
Brogu.
See you tonight. Right now we're talking baseball movies that you like. I think all of them. Probably Major League. Oh, well, without doubt,
Yeah.
Major League's my favorite. I actually like League of Their Own, probably up there
Yeah.
with them. Rookie of the Year, Cubs fans could
Yeah.
actually dream before
Yeah.
when it was made. You could actually, hey, we actually do something.
I love Rookie of the Year for nothing else because it has Gary Busey. You know,
I love Gary Busey.
I love Gary Busey. I love Gary Busey for the same reasons I love Nick Nolte. I mean, if it just to take a step back, it's a basketball movie. Have you ever seen Blue Chips?
I have not seen it, but I know the premise. It had Shaq in it with Nick Nolte.
Yeah. It's not a great basketball movie. I'm not going to put it head to head with like Hoosiers and Gene Hackman, but it's a movie about right and wrong. But they use college basketball as the vehicle to tell the story. So that's what makes it. That is what brings it home for me.
No, I tell you what, they need to make a new movie on that with the NIL and all this dealing, because they're actually, and not to get out of baseball, but see, all this NIL all affects all the sports, including baseball. But some of the football teams are refusing to have spring games, which are traditional rites of passage at these schools and money makers and big events in the spring, because they don't want to show off people's talents to that other teams will come get them. One that I've heard is Nebraska.
No, it's the description I've heard of this year's Final Four is chalk, because like the lowest seed that's going in is they're going to the Sweet 16 now, is 10th place, but it's all
Arkansas, the Pigs. Yeah,
I mean, that's your bailiwick. That's what you know. Because Final Four is the one time of the year where I wish I had some skin in the game of college basketball, and I don't. But yeah, that's it's, you inject that much money, and like the whole thing in Blue Chips is I'll tell the story really quickly. Like, Nick Nolte is this coach, and he's coaching the hell out of this team. And the analogy is like he's a UCLA guy because they're in California, and he just can't get anywhere. And along comes J.T. Walsh, one of the late great J.T. Walsh, one of the great character actors of all time, and he is friends of the program. And they get, they find Shaq, they give him Alexis, they find this Larry, he goes to Larry Bird, and they find this guy in Indiana, and he wants a tractor and $30,000. They find Anthony Hardaway in Chicago. His mom wants a job and a house, and for like $250,000, they got three all-stars, and they beat Bobby Knight at the end of the game. It wasn't that much money, and it's just such a great corollary of what's happening now, because that amount of money is infinitesimal compared to what some of these big schools have.
Yep. We're seeing it nowadays with all the schools. They can't keep on their coaches. They get hot a year or two, and then they move on. And
I mean, just an example of money. Stanford. Stanford. If you graduate Stanford, and
let me say real quick. Good night to Hyperbolic Ninja. Thank you for hanging out with us a lot. Remember, Tuesday night I'm going to have, it's April Fool's Day, but I'm having a 700 subscriber celebration. So everybody, make sure y'all come over for that 7:00 Tuesday night, and also make sure you hit the like button and subscribe.
Don't worry.
Thank you. Great to see you tonight. And another movie was Angels in the Outfield also.
Just an example of money. Like Stanford has their alumni association. If you graduate with student loans and you're not making, I think, $125,000 after 5 or 6 years, the alumni association will pay your student loans because they have that much money.
Wow.
I mean, think of like Princeton or Harvard has billions and billions of dollars.
Look at buddy. Yep. Yeah, I know.
And that's just one example.
It's insane. But
Yeah.
we're back to money, whether it's
Money, money, money.
gambling, paying players, or whatever it is. Money comes back to the end of the day. We don't have the Cinderellas that we used to have, and
And
those feel good stories.
Speaking of the broadcast, ESPN will be out of the picture at the end of the year. They're ending baseball is ending their relationship with ESPN.
Well, like somebody said, they pretty much wrote off ESPN with baseball when they got rid of Joe Morgan and the other guy, the Bent Miller, the Miller and Morgan. It's like that, because I remember I liked listening to those guys on Sunday night. Yeah. They were good together, and it's like now everybody has to be this dramatic, exciting, like over the top personality, and it's like, just call the damn game. Yeah. I mean, Harry Carey. Harry Carey was who he was. That's what made Harry Carey so.
Yeah, I mean, listening to him was
suit or whatever, a polo shirt, trying to fake it, and
you listen to him, and it was an experience. You experienced the game. It's like, it might be, it could be, it is, home run, holy cow.
Or sometimes it could be, it may be, it's caught on the track.
There were people who would watch the TV, but because in the middle of the game, Harry Carey would switch over to WGN radio and call a couple innings there, and then come back to the TV to finish the game. And people would like switch over and watch the game on TV, but listen in on radio.
Yeah. Yeah. When he went to the radio side, I remember that. And he come back for the seventh inning until the end. Buddy is saying that ESPN should just be renamed to DCLJ because all they talk about is Dallas Cowboys and LeBron James.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
Which one, the Dallas Cowboys or the LeBron James?
LeBron James.
Yeah. Well, we won't get you set on that. So, well, we're going to go ahead and start wrap up next couple minutes. Okay. Max, any great topics? Anything else on baseball that you want to address tonight, or? I mean, we can always come back as the season goes along and do some more as the season goes.
Thursday is tomorrow is the official start of the season. I think the Cubs are playing the. Let me see. Let's see. The Cubs are playing the Diamondbacks.
Okay.
I could go down. there. It's only a 6-hour drive, but yeah. Hey, it's. Every season is a new opportunity, and you never know. It's always faith over confidence.
Well, what sucks also, opening day's on Thursday. It used to be Monday afternoon.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday, but still, Riverfront Stadium. Anyway, but I'm stuck in the past.
I gotcha. No, you know what You are like me, a sentimentalist. You want you want to feel the same things that you felt when it felt really good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to. My favorite Cubs games were the West Coast trips, the late night ones to stay up late for.
Oh yeah,
loved the West Coast swing. But, but now they're playing. But see, they were reserved when the two division format only like once or twice a year. Now it's like the Cubs open on the West Coast, so it wasn't special. It wasn't that unique thing.
It is what it is. It's I'm also a Bears fan, which is a chronic condition in and of itself. So hey, I
wish Jess was here to hear that one. So,
so you hope springs eternal. It's not like I do not own a single San Diego Padres piece of Padres memorabilia. Even though I've lived here for like 15, 16 years.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I know. I don't doubt it. It's like one of the things that the Jacksonville Jaguars have had is like all small market teams and
Yeah.
newer teams is everybody's a Jets fan, Cowboy fan, Dolphin fan, and that's what you see more merchandise people buying
Yeah.
up, not the local
You know.
university, not the local
Hey,
teams.
I will quote Yogurt. Merchandising.
Yes, that's where the real money is
Money is
made.
made.
And buddy, yes, the Randy
The
Johnson
Randy
exploding
Johnston
burst.
bird kill.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I gotta
God.
tweet that. I gotta find that and tweet that one out just for the fun of it. See
Yeah.
how that goes again. All right. Well, Max, I appreciate you coming on tonight. We made about 90 hours.
90 hours.
Yes, exactly. Going strong. But everybody, this is the great Max Redstone. Do you want to say any other final comments before I?
No, it's just great
Close
to be
out?
here. I'm getting ready for the show in May, photography show in May. So it's like got my head all in that. So it's nice to take a break from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I we've been talking about doing a stream for a long time, but things have gotten in the way, like just me and you. And this is good to talk about a specific topic that we both hold near and dear, and just especially memories of old Cubs years. It's funny that we go backwards. Currently, we're like,
Gosh, I'm even thinking about remember the Simpsons episode with the softball team.
Oh yes, McGuire, Bonds, all them on it. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yep.
It's
fun. Right. It's fun to remember.
It is always fun to remember. Well, let's do this, folks. The party will not end here necessarily. Max and I are going to say goodnight. I got some business to take care of after the stream. But hey, the missus is live, but she's not on her own channel. I am. Here is the link. She's over with Raquel SSG on her channel with a ladies' night panel. So go over there, say hi, support Raquel's channel also, but say hi to the missus while she's over there guesting over there tonight. I like it when she steps out, reaches out, and branches out to different places. So that's good. Go say hi to them and encourage all of them. And again, thank you, Max, for being here. My next stream will be unplanned over the weekend if I have time as I do it. Probably will be Fortnite or something random. I don't know. It could go later tonight just by myself. Who knows what happens around here? We live on the edge of making it up as we go along. But Tuesday night at 7 o'clock, we will have a 700 subscriber stream. Although, Max, I love the way you put in Mrs. Chat. That is if I don't. I know. I was at 702. I was holding, and then it went back to 701. And it's like, will there be 700 on Tuesday night? But we'll find out. I got photographic evidence, so to me, it counts.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you, Max. Thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody out there. Like I said, go over and say hi to Raquel right there and tell her that we're coming through. And everybody, y'all have a great night, and we will see you next time. Yeah, I live by the seat of my pants. Unfortunately, some have holes in the back pocket. I haven't told the missus yet. All right, bye, all.
Good night.